What Donald Trump is doing? Well, if you love what Donald Trump is doing, then there's some things you need to understand. I know folks on the left will sort of be the typical American tribalist and only focus on their interests and their ideology. So they look at, what he's doing is fascist and, whatever the main theme or rhetoric you see coming from the left, they'll kind of all be on board with that. And I think one of the failings of the left, not unlike the right, is, again, being caught up in your bubble and only seeing things from your perspective, right? But there's another half of the country that sees things a little bit differently from you, and I think it would be advantageous for you to at least understand. You don't got to agree with it, right? So I see and recognize these people who agree with Trump, who agree with Elon Musk and what Elon Musk is doing. And as a result, I like to speak directly to them and let them know about some things that they need to be aware of, right? So if you like what Trump is doing because you look at it as, all these bureaucrats, they're whatever negative thing that you have, the bureaucrats, whatever, deep state, whatever, the FBI is no good. Look how they treated some of the protesters. Maybe you're aware or not aware of the violence that happened. Doesn't matter. Let's ignore that. I'll even say let's focus only on the people who may have just been there peacefully protesting and they didn't really do anything. And then maybe they got a harsh treatment. And, that's like FBI, they're partisan and we need to gut them and clean house. And then all the tax money that you're paying. And I'm saying all of this stuff in good faith, right? I'm not trying to be sarcastic or whatever. I'm just presenting, because maybe I'm mistaken, I'm presenting a steelman of your arguments, of your positions, as I perceive them to be. So if I'm wrong, correct me in the comment section below. So if that's your view, gut these programs, stop all this government waste, all this money going to maybe things you don't believe in or things that don't work, and you're struggling and then they're taking this stuff out of your money, out of your paycheck, and it's just waste. Clean it up, right? If that's your perspective and based on that you agree with what Trump is doing and you agree with what Elon Musk is doing, here's what you need to know and here's what you need to understand. Elon Musk and Donald Trump can do the things that they're doing, right? If you like what they're doing, they can do the things that they're doing without subjecting the country to severe risk and danger, putting all of our lives in danger, all of our security in danger, putting the lives of our military, the lives of many people who are your family members, your neighbors, who are out somewhere in the globe, top secret mission, whatever, undercover, whatever. All the sloppiness in terms of the way that they're doing things is hugely problematic. They can do these things. They don't have to do it in such a dangerous and reckless manner, right? For example, if Elon Musk saw some fraud and waste, right? He's looking through the systems and he saw fraud and waste. Well, actually, let's start from the beginning, because how does he even get into the system to see stuff, right? If Elon Musk wanted to go through the systems and look for fraud and waste, right? There's no reason why he couldn't follow the protocol, right? It's not a life and death situation. Oh, we're sending millions of dollars for condoms or whatever you've heard, whatever you believe to be true, right? And to be clear, there's a lot of lies that's being spread. But put that aside, whatever. Let's just assume it's all true, the stuff that you're hearing, right? It's not life and death, right? We're spending money on something, some kind of woke program, right? So there's no need to shut down the entire program, right? Before you do your investigation, find out where the fraud is or the waste is, right? And then once you identify, you have a list of these are things that fraudulent, they're waste, and we want to shut them down, right? I mean, this is the way adults behave, right? This is the way adults, responsible adults behave, right? You're tinkering around, in systems, critical systems that have a lot of effect globally, not even just in this country, right? You want to be very, very careful in how you're dealing with this stuff. And the way to deal with it in a methodical way is you first do the investigation and you identify the fraud and waste. You put that list together. Then you come up with a plan to safely mitigate, shut down, remove, address in some way these things, right? You come up with a plan. The plan needs to be vetted by the people that know the systems, that know the impacts, right? Need to have a discussion. And don't even think like this is not a years-long process. It doesn't take years. This is where, for those of you guys that think that Elon Musk is so smart, he's a genius, those are the types of things that the kind of guy that you're presenting him to be, and I don't know that he is what you guys believe him to be or not, but let's assume that he is. That type of person, outside the box, forward thinking, not stuck in the old ways and, the decrepit, bureaucracy and red tape, right? These are the type of things that somebody like him would be able to do and do it efficiently and quickly, right? Bang out the list, find all the things. Bang, 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 bang. Here's all the stuff. Here's all the inefficiency. Here's all the fraud. We found it, right? Okay, construct a plan. Use your AI. You want to use the AI to help you construct whatever. You be out of the box, right? Come up with something. Aggressive plan, a fast-moving plan. But a big part of your planning process is safety, right? What are the risks, right? And what are we doing to mitigate those risks? Like this is the way, methodical thinking, right? That's the way that someone who is a genius, right? They would behave in some manner, some version of that, right? And they could quickly spin up a very solid plan, have the plan vetted. Now, some of you may think traditionally Congress is so slow and whatever. Listen, man, we don't have a Congress right now, right? The entire Republican Party has bowed to Donald Trump. You see all those nominees that he has. There's people in the Republican Party that don't want them, and they're like, no, no. And overnight, they're like, okay, we're voting for them, right? Congress is not an issue, right? So there's no reason to circumvent the rules and the protocols which have been put there for a reason, right? Who do you think the Republican Party is about to go and hold up things? You see them holding up the nominees? No, they're like, okay, boom. They may talk to a few of them like, oh, well, I don't know, but they quickly turn. So that's not an issue. There's no reason why you can't go through the official process. You have your plan. You have the plan vetted, right? You have third parties or independent people, whatever, do their analysis, whatever. And you don't have to follow what they say, because you might want to say, well, oh, some independent guy gonna come and muck it up because maybe they're a secret liberal. Okay, whatever. So you come with a plan. You know it's a solid plan, and they come in and they come with some liberal stuff. Oh, actually, and you can see they stalling. Well, you know what? You got the president's authority. Congress is gonna back you up. So do your thing, man. There's no reason to not follow procedures, not follow protocols. The reason why we do things the way we do them, methodically. I'm not saying everything we do is correct. There's a lot of problems with the way things are done in the government. I've been to the DMV, right? But there's a lot of stuff that we do that has worked. When was the last time we had a major terrorist attack in the United States of America? I'm even surprised. As a veteran, I'm even surprised, right? I thought by now, especially with all the stuff that's been going on, that we'd already had a major attack. Since 9/11, we really haven't seen, knock on wood, anything. How do you think that's a coincidence? That's not a coincidence. That is the product of protocol, procedures, right? Expertise, right? We have a lot of very proficient people in our government who know what they're doing, right? They've made mistakes. It's not, nothing's perfect, right? Nothing's perfect, right? Like when people criticize Donald Trump, you know, and you guys will say, well, nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. Whatever. Well, same thing to the professionals in our government, the FBI, the CIA, the Defense Department, right? None of these people are perfect. They've made mistakes. There's things that they're doing that are incorrect. But overall, we haven't seen a major terrorist attack in this country in a very long time. There's a lot of people that hate this country that would love to attack us. It's not a coincidence that these things have not happened. We should not just reject and just completely ignore the expertise of the people that we have in our government that have the skill set in terms of dealing with things like this. So you come with a plan, you have the plan vetted, and then you execute the plan, right? Methodically shutting down certain woke programs or this program is actually fake, blah, 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 right? You shut it down methodically, right? You do it in a way, you have your steps process that you do. Every aircraft, you look at the safety, flying in one of the safest ways to travel even now. Why? As a pilot, you have a checklist, right? It's not about my expertise and what my skill set is. They have a procedure, a protocol. There's a checklist. So human error is mitigated. Me as a human being, I'm a good pilot. Maybe I forgot a step. It's in my checklist, right? I'm just going through the checklist. I don't have to really remember everything. It's laid out there for a reason. Without the checklist, as a human, maybe you make a mistake, right? You forgot to flip a switch. You have the wrong RPM, whatever it is. You made some mistake, and that leads to disaster, right? How do we avoid these accidents? How is it that we have such a safety record? Because of protocol and procedures that have been developed over years and years and years, and they work. Not all the time, nothing is perfect, but overall they work. Everyone listening here, you guys have flown so many times, I'm sure, and you're still alive to watch my video right now, right? It's not by coincidence. That is through regulations, right? There's regulations that protect us, and that is through expertise, and that is through protocols, right? So let's go, talking about protocols, let's go into also how they entered the system, right? You're getting into an area, multiple domains that are my own, right? I'm coming from a person, national defense, right? National defense was a key mandate for me, keeping the country safe, right? I swore an oath to protect the country against all enemies, foreign and domestic, right? National defense is an area of focus for me, right? I have a level of understanding of those perspectives. The other one is these types of systems that they accessed. I have an understanding of the risks, right? I understand what the stakes are. A lot of you guys don't, right? The average person wouldn't, right? National defense is not something that the average person is really thinking about. Not that you're not aware of it, right? But it's not something you really think hard about. And what does that mean to secure the country? What are the risks, right? I have that understanding, and also these systems, right? So here's the problem. Again, protocol and procedures. The systems that Elon Musk is accessing are critical systems, right? If these systems crash, they go down, if they're compromised, massive risks to the country. I mean, look at what happened from them just freezing it or whatever. So that's not like the system going down or being compromised. And look at the global chaos that happened as a result of it. I think I'm going the wrong way. So let's start with security in terms of national security, right? So one of the big things in our government, whenever you're accessing any critical system, is we have this thing called background check, right? I had to go through it, right? The FBI, they will actually interview members of your family. I mean, they'll dig deep, right? They profile you, right? They're looking at your personality, right? And they're looking at it in context of the job you're applying for. I had actually applied for a special forces position. That's a story for another day, because actually I did it kind of just quote unquote for fun. But again, that's a story for another day. But regardless, they are looking in the context of the position that you're applying for, and they're looking at the type of personality that they need for that and the risks of certain personality types. So depending on what the job is, right, there are certain personalities that might be incompatible, right? They're also looking for vectors in terms of risk vectors, in terms of you have a connection to a, like maybe you have a family member that lives in a hostile state or something like that, where, you know, there's a risk there in this area where you have a connection to. They could, I mean, let's say me, for example. Let's say I had family members living in some hostile area, right? It could be in a situation where they could easily kidnap my family, right? Get a message out to me and say, listen, so I'm one of those young kids that's on those computers. Listen, we have your family, here's your family, here's your father, here's your brother, sister, whatever. We have them, they're screaming in the background, right? Listen, we don't want to hurt your family, right? We don't want to hurt anyone. And we're not asking you to kill anyone. We're asking you a simple task, and we'll let your family go. And we're also going to give you some money for your helping us, right? All we need you to do is put this USB card in one of those systems that you're working on, right? Reboot the computer, and then wait 3 minutes, remove it, and that's it. That's all you have to do. You do that, your family will be freed, and you'll be a little bit richer, right? And then what they'll do, they won't tell this person, one of these young guys, exactly what they're looking to do. Of course not. They'll probably downplay it. And don't worry, no one's gonna get hurt. All we need is some information about some program, because come up with some story where it's not that big of a deal, right? So as this person is considering what they're gonna do, making them feel a little bit easier to go along with the program, you know, because it's not even that big of a deal what they're doing, right? So they do this task. Next thing you know, a foreign country has direct access to our computer systems. And this can go a couple different ways. They can set up backdoors where they can access the system anytime they want to, find out the identity of our spies that are out there in other countries. Maybe we have special forces units that are working wherever, deep cover, finding out their identities. And again, these are people who have kept us safe for a very, very long time. With all the enemies that we have and all the stuff we've been doing, a lot of people hate us, right? Or at least enough people hate us that are really, really violent. I mean, terrorist organizations, they would love to get at us. And the reason that it hasn't happened, one of the many reasons, is because of these professionals who could be compromised, because one of these young kids could be compromised, right? That's the reason we have procedures, right? Where you will do a background check. One of the many procedures, do a background check. Find out these guys that are going to be accessing these systems, are they any potential links where this kind of situation can happen? Bribery, extortion. Maybe one of these kids is having financial difficulty, right? Major financial difficulty, right? That is a high risk, right? That is a very, very high risk. That is somebody who would be a great target for, an enemy to try to exploit, right? Oh, we know your father is in a hospital with cancer, and you guys can't afford the surgery. Listen, man, your father's gonna die, right? We've seen the records. Your father's gonna die. But if you do this small task for us, we're gonna get you the best doctors ever, right? We're gonna take care of your father. You're gonna be able to have many more birthdays and holidays with your father. All you have to do is put this USB drive in this computer. That's it. Real simple, real easy, right? No one's gonna get hurt. Nobody's trying to hurt anybody. We just want some information. That's it, right? This is why you do background checks. Elon Musk and all these guys on these computer systems, background checks. Again, let's go back to my original premise, right? If you like what Elon Musk is doing, you like what Trump is doing, that's fine, right? I can understand you want the government, more lean. You don't want your tax dollars going to these programs. All that can be done in a responsible and safe way, and also it can be done quickly. So don't get this, because I know you try to talk to people and it's always excuses and whatever. Oh, well, red tape. What red tape? What red tape? They have full control of Congress. Anything they need to get done is going to get done. There's no reason to not follow procedures, protocols, to not consider the safety of this country. And think about it, that you have a president of the United States. You have this guy, Elon Musk, with all his power, who don't care about the safety of this country. Because doing the stuff that they're doing, especially Donald Trump, he would have been informed about these kinds of things. He would know the dangers, right? I got nowhere near the president of the United States, and I had so much training on safety and risks, right? They talk about when you go on vacation to other countries and, getting gifts, right? I think that's something that they talked about. Like if you go to a foreign country and, someone's giving you a gift or whatever, they gave you so many briefings after briefings about this safety and this risk, and they tell you all these types of threats. Donald Trump got way more of those advisories than I did, right? So he knows this is reckless. He knows that he's putting our soldiers at risk. He's putting our agents at risk. He's putting your neighbor at risk, your family member at risk. Anybody that is in your family that works in the government, who works, special forces, military, anyone working for the FBI, putting all these people at risk. They transmitted those names of, I think it was CIA agents, in an unclassified way. Just sloppy. It's not about what they're doing. It's how they're doing it, right? Don't let these people gaslight you and say, oh, this is corrupt and that is, oh, fine. Let's agree with that. Let's agree that every criticism about these programs is 100% accurate, right? There is actual fraud and waste going on, and let's agree on that. Okay, fine. Let's resolve it in a way that doesn't put the country at risk, that doesn't put our soldiers at risk, doesn't put FBI agents at risk. I mean, there's no excuse for this. There's no excuse for the reckless behavior. You can't. It's like, imagine if I hire you because I have a groundhog problem at my house, right? That's what you're hired for. Hey man, come and deal with these groundhogs. I wanted that. I requested it, right? And then you come to my house with an AK-47, right? And let me set the picture. Let's say I live in an area with a lot of houses everywhere, so I'm not out in the middle of nowhere. You come to my house with an AK-47, right? And you're and the neighbors are complaining. This is crazy what you're doing. You can't do this, whatever. Now imagine that there's another half of the neighborhood that's saying, hey man, it's what he asked for. And also we want this as well, because those groundhogs are eating our vegetables as well. We don't want those groundhogs, right? And we voted in the council meeting to get rid of the groundhogs. That's what we voted for. We don't want groundhogs. And then he's getting rid of the groundhogs. That's what we all want. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. It's not what you're doing, it's how you're doing it. You can't just, the fundamental thing is I want to get rid of the groundhogs. So it doesn't matter what you do. You could drop a nuclear bomb. That's fine. I just want to get rid of the groundhogs. AK-47, it's fine because just get rid of the groundhogs, right? How about we throw grenades, right, at the groundhogs? Oh, well, that's what he wants to get. No, that's not how it works. We got to think deeper than that, man. If you want them to clean up the government, you want them to shut down these woke programs, fine. Trump is the president. He won, right? That gives him authority to make a lot of decisions to make those kind of things happen, right? They won the House and the Senate, so they have Congress, right? So they have the authority to do a lot of things that maybe you like. But there's no excuse. There's no reason to do it in such a reckless manner, to behave in such a childish manner. And part of it is childishness as well. And I talk about that with this. It's a MAGA thing. MAGA is just it's a group of juveniles, right? I'm not saying Trump voters or people who like Trump. MAGA specifically, that called very, very childish, because this is how a child behaves. Like, for example, I gave an analogy the other day. You know, you work at a power plant and you have your son with you, and he's upset for some reason, and then he goes and he throws a bunch of soda on some panels, right? Now, he's old enough, let's say he's 13, he's old enough to know that that could be dangerous, and who knows, maybe it will mess with the systems, it could cause a fire or whatever. But again, as a child, you don't really think so deeply about the consequences. You let your emotions guide you, and in the moment you're mad, daddy, whatever, and you just throw the stuff on there, right? And then it causes a fire, right? So you cause a fire, or maybe half the city loses power, right? Because you were mad. But then how does a child behave? Children are different, right? But are they going to just accept responsibility and be like, oh, I messed up or whatever? Or are they going to just be like, whatever, it's fine, and then maybe you get the power back on in 30 minutes. Well, the power was only off for half an hour, not like somebody died. That's MAGA, right? That same behavior of that 13-year-old child, that's how MAGA thinks and behaves. Right, you're doing something, you're not even really thinking about the consequences of it, and then just like as an adult talking to a child, you go to the you run into the control center and you see your son throwing stuff, and you're like, Johnny, what are you doing? Like, don't you know that you could damage this and cause a fire? And what does Johnny say? Johnny's not an adult, so Johnny's not like, oh wow, you're right. No, Johnny's like, the water's not gonna cause a fire. Like, you think the water's not even going anywhere, it's just on the panels. You're exaggerating. Yeah. That's MAGA. Children. That's how children think, right? Grown adults, first of all, we don't do that in the first place because we say, listen, I'm mad, right? But I have, as an adult, I realize that this stuff is critical, and if I damage it, you think into that level, like this is affecting people, blah blah, and who knows, maybe it cause a fire, like all this stuff you think about, so then you don't do that, right? If you're really, really mad, maybe you just kick something that is not really gonna cause no harm, right? You're not gonna go to the level like throwing liquids in there. You don't know where the liquid's gonna go. Like, that's adults is thinking like that. Child, you don't think like that, right? You don't even think like, oh, it's just buttons. What's under the buttons, right? You're not thinking like that. That's MAGA. That's what Elon is doing. That's what Donald Trump is doing. So once again, if you like what they're doing, that's fine. Don't let that blind you from the reality of how they're doing it and the dangers that they're putting this country in. And all the stuff I said is not even the worst case scenario, right? One of the worst case scenarios is Elon Musk could literally take over the government. In fact, he could have taken over the government already and you guys wouldn't even know it. You know how? When he's accessing all these systems, he's installing ransomware on our computer systems. And if he gets access to enough of these computer systems, right, then and he sets up a dead man switch, right? So anything happens to him, something goes off, right? He can basically go into Trump's office and say, "Listen, Trump, I just want to let you know that I have full control over all these computer systems. And then here's my engineer. Can you explain to Trump what's going to happen if I flip this switch?" And they explain to him, if he shuts that down, he's going to cripple the entire country. That's gonna shut down all the money, all the radar for aircraft. In 5 minutes, you're probably looking at $400 billion in damage. You're looking at millions of deaths or whatever massive scenario, right? And then it's like, listen, if anything happens to me, this thing's going to go off and the entire government's going to shut down and you're going to get the blame for it. So listen, you continue doing your thing, right? I'm not trying to, I'm going to take your role, I'm going to be president. You do your thing, right? I'm just going to be giving you some guidance to help you, right? Just ensure that whatever I say happens, right? Whatever I say, make sure it happens and make sure it happens the way I say it happens, right? So we don't have to do things in a way that could get a little messy. If that happens, what is Donald Trump going to do? You think the military, what's the military going to do? They're going to use missiles? Missiles to do what? If he's got a dead man switch, right? The missile's not going to help. I'm telling you right now, I don't know what the response is because it's not going to be military, right? I mean, I guess the response would be on a cyber level, right? To try and get that stuff out of the systems. But, if you guys think Elon is such a genius, maybe he does a really good job at this, right? And maybe he puts in place countermeasures where if you go in there and you try to mess around and try to figure out what he did, it could trigger it. So make it like it's a bomb in a way, right? That's how they have with these bombs where if you try to tinker with them, it actually triggers the explosion. So he could do the digital equivalent of that. So you start going in the computer and looking at certain things, then it's like it detects like you're tampering, and then it's like boom. So again, if you think he's so smart, you don't think he could do something like that, right? And I guess the argument would be Elon Musk would never do that. Well, were there 6 other guys that could do it? You trust Elon Musk? You trust Trump? Okay. Do you trust these 6 random teenagers that you don't know anything about their backgrounds or who they're connected to? Listen, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If I were a foreign country that's an enemy of America, I would have months ago start putting into place a plan to infiltrate Donald Trump circles, Elon Musk circles, some of the key MAGA people. I would look at them as easy targets, right? If I were a foreign country trying to do harm to America, I would look at these guys as easy targets. Donald Trump looks like a guy that, I could send agents and flatter him and then get really close to him. And then, I think there were some incursions on Mar-a-Lago with some Chinese spies got on there, right? So I would be targeting all these people. Pete Hegseth, the minute I hear he's going to be appointed, I would be starting a training program for some of the most beautiful women you've ever seen in your life, right? Agents that will be trained to get in his circles using the other agents that are doing other things, get them connected, get into his social circle, MAGA flags, America, whatever, all the rhetoric, woke, right? See all that stuff, blend in, right? And in part of all these things that I would have done as an enemy of America, maybe one of those agents is actually only 19 years old, right? Maybe one of those agents is a 19-year-old who is one of the people on Elon Musk's team. So if you trust Elon Musk and you trust Trump, do you also trust all those kids, right, that didn't have the background checks? It's fine to want what you want, but there's a proper way to do things. Let me look at the comment section. Fortunately, I'm not driving right now, so I can actually read your comments. Rogan and Brett Weinstein discussing the election. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It says it all. An impenetrable bubble. Yep, 100%. And I think one of the worst parts is you have, again, this childish mentality, right? So you have these, like, again, when we talk about, like, with kids, right? Imagine a kid that's acting up and you're trying to plead with them and you're like, listen, man, um, the stuff you're doing is dangerous. You can't, like, maybe they put something in somebody's food at school, like as a prank or something, and the kid got sick. And you're like, listen, man, you got to stop doing these things. That kid could have died, right? You got to think about the actions. And the kid is just like, he doesn't get it. This is not taking it seriously. It's like, he wasn't gonna die. It was just whatever, right? No matter how you talk to him, maybe you got a kid and they, they old enough to get their first car and they love to race. They out there racing all the time, and you're trying to talk to them like, listen, man, you lose control. You can kill someone. And imagine a family, whatever, and the kid is just like, man, I'm not gonna crash whatever. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Like I practice really good and whatever. And we only do it at night or whatever it is, right? Can't talk to him. That's MAGA. Can't talk to him, right? It's like talking to children, right? Nothing you say will just penetrate. They getting into the details and consequences and this could happen, that can happen, and it's just kind of like they just totally disconnect from reality. It's kind of that's fine. The stigmatization of this by Team Trump. Yeah, man. You saw that fake call that I did. That's what it's like, man. Like, hey, just put woke on top of it, and they'll fall for it. Like, oh, look, I found a program, and it's something woke. There's woke stuff here. I saw a video recently of a Republican senator, and he's like, and they gave $50 million to what did he say? $50 million for condoms for some terrorist group. So they made up a story about $50 million, I think, for condoms for Gaza. It's not even real. Trump changes it to 100 million, so he's just making up numbers. Now this guy, he totally flips it. Now he's saying it's $50 million for condoms for a terrorist group. Then the news guy calls him out. He's like, what are you talking about, bro? And then rather than and even tells him, like, I think you're talking about the Gaza thing, which isn't true, but is that what you mean? And he's like, no, this is what they're doing. Like, so he doesn't, so not even a minute. Again, childish. That is how children behave, right? The child is saying, the child is lying. They get the lie wrong, right? And you're like, wait a minute. Do you mean to say whatever? And are they going to admit, like, oh yeah, that's what I was trying to say? No, they double down, right? No, you're wrong. Just children. It's not about ideology. I would love to live in a country where I had one ideology, I had one view of the way things could work, and then the other half of the country, we adamantly disagree, right? I believe a woman should have a right to abortion, and you believe that abortion is murder. I wish I could live in that country, right? That's the thing. You believe abortion is murder. I believe that a woman should have right, and we have a different opinion. This is a big deal, right? Because you think it's murder, so it's a big deal, right? And to me, I'm looking at, man, a woman that might need an abortion and she doesn't get it, and then she dies as a result. Like, maybe she needs it for medical reasons. So it's a big deal to me. It's a big deal to you. Fine. I would love to be in that country where we could sit down and even have an aggressive debate about it, and I'm like, no, what about this? And you're like, no, but it's murder, and when does life start? And you're like, you have your point of view, I have mine, and we might even get heated in our debate, but that's not the country we live in. This is not about ideology. It's not about woke stuff. It's not about the gays or immigration or protecting the border or there's drugs coming in. None of this stuff matters. It's all bullshit. What we have in this country is a cult called MAGA, and it has infested our government at this point. We have a cult that has taken over our government. All the noise and buzz that's coming from this cult, it's all nonsense. Well, I'm going to have a video about that pretty soon, Environmental Coffee House, about US being over. I don't see a way out. History demonstrates that horrors are more likely than correction. Are we compromised beyond repair? No way to tell. I mean, I'm not there, right? So I don't know what's been done, but I can tell you this much. it doesn't look too good, and that's a gross understatement. Musk and his upside down smile is disturbing. Yeah, it wasn't a Hitler. It wasn't a Hitler salute. Ugh. Now everybody's sick. I'm getting over something. I don't know what I had. Maybe because I don't feel well. Yeah, I had something. It was like a very mild cold, and then a sore throat thing that went away, and now I'm still runny nose and an occasional cough. I don't know what it is. Yeah, man. There's no way I could be hyperbolic right now. I mean, I've never, I've seen some crazy stuff. Like, you guys know, I've been covering politics for a while, and I'm about to be 50. Been around for a while. I've seen a lot. I've seen crazy things in this country. We've had, our timeline is interesting to say the least. I can't think of a time where I've been in a situation where I don't have the words to describe how bad things are right now. I mean, when Trump was in office the first time, that was pretty bad, right? That was definitely pretty bad, right? And it wasn't about his tweets, as some liberals will tell you. But this time around, I'm struggling to articulate like how bad things are right now. I don't even know what to say. I left a good friend a message, talking about what's going on right now, and in the end, I was like, "Listen, man, I don't even know." Because I felt funny, like I'm saying all this stuff that's crazy that's happening in the country, but then what is she supposed to do about it? What am I supposed to do about it? Like I'm giving you. It's like I told her that there's an asteroid that is headed for Earth, and it's gonna hit in like a month. I mean, I guess she could get her affairs in order, but what is she supposed to do with that? But like I said to her, I have to say something. Like I'm based on what I'm seeing, I can't keep my mouth shut because I know maybe she's not paying as much attention as I am. She may not realize how serious things are. So, I just felt compelled to share with her, what was going on. But again, it felt awkward because I'm just like, it's not like I'm saying something where she could do something about it. Like when COVID was going on, we actually used to talk during COVID as well. And, I would tell her stuff in terms of like, hey, this is happening. And maybe I'd give her like advice and here's things to look out for. But I got nothing on this right now. Right? I don't have anything on this right now. I don't even know how to describe it. I don't know. All I can do is just tell the truth, man. I will end on this note. I spoke to a buddy of mine. Let's just say he is a guy who he's seen some combat, shall we say. And I'm talking about government related combat, not a street guy. He's currently in the private sector, doing private security services. But this is a guy, he's hardcore. I mean, he has so many guns, so many rifles. He's the real deal. He told me that himself and many others are currently getting certain plans in action in terms of, how can I describe this? Imagine that asteroid scenarios. Imagine literally an asteroid is gonna hit Earth, and let's say it's a potential that it's not gonna be complete destroying of the planet, but maybe half of the United States is gonna get destroyed. So, we're talking about go bags and, survival stuff and you know, where you're gonna go, and I mean he's talking stuff about, you know, uh, going to certain locations, and setting up. And just so I'm clear, we're talking about survival stuff. So I'm not talking about he's gonna go GI Joe and try to do something with that, but more protect himself and his family. So they are right now getting their plans in action in terms of, you know, as I say, when shit hits the fan. That's where we're at. He advised me on some things that he thinks that I should do, take action that I should take, pretty drastic action in terms of, you know, defensive measures. Now that's his point of view. I mean, you know, there's a prepper society, right? I wouldn't regard him as a prepper. I've never heard him talk about any prepper stuff. He's mentioned stuff like this within the last few years with what's been happening with the country. So this is kind of new for him. His whole thing was always just, you know, he talks about, you know, military stuff and, you know, things of that nature. But this whole like prepper type thing is a new thing for him. But point is that there have been people who have always been, you know, prepping and, you know, planning for Armageddon. So, just because he is in that mode doesn't mean that that's the right mode to be in, right? I can say that I am not currently taking such actions, but I am at the point where I'm considering that I might need to. I am at the point where I'm starting to think about, you know, what happens if things go off the rails, really? What does that look like? But while I'm thinking about it, he's actually putting things in place. And I can imagine that there's many other people doing it as well. He claims that a lot of law enforcement people are leaving as well, for different reasons. So there you have it. Let me know when you're gonna do that environmental coffee house. Actually, you're the person to talk to too if you're gonna talk about prepping stuff. I believe. I'm making an assumption here because I know you talk a lot about environmental, but I presume somewhere in there is, you know, some version of living off the land and, you know, growing food and stuff like that. Anyway, this is Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Whatever the stuff that I normally say at the end of my videos that I can't think of right now because there's a lot going on in America. Anyway, enough of the liberal tears. Oh, liberals are going hysterical. Oh, they're just taking things off of control. Oh, everything. Oh, liberals. Liberals. Oh, they're crying. Right.